And thank you so much for joining today. Um, so wait up, I'm always bad with like starts.
I know. Well,
Get
I'm
kind of
happy to
nervous.
be here. I always love to talk about co-ops and internships, and I think every student should take part in the program. So I thank you for showing interest, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm happy you were part of the program during your adventurous years at Ontario Tech U.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and welcome to my channel. Anne is the internship and co-op officer at Ontario Tech, and she does an incredible job with with running the entire program. And as I think it's one of the best internship and co-op programs out there. In all honesty,
Hmm.
because I've been through it, spent 2 years in that program. So welcome, Anne, and thank you for that great introduction.
I'm happy to be here. And I'm very proud of you. It's great to see students like yourself get a great degree, study what they're interested in, and then go out into the world of work. And our alumni are doing really neat things now and are making a name for themselves as well as the university.
Absolutely, and we couldn't have done it without your dedication and your all the support that you provide for students.
Well, I must say, I think I'm as happy as the students are when they get a job. Like I think it's quite a challenge and a lot of steps to make time for the Career Center as well to make sure resumes, cover letters are hitting the mark and practicing those behavioral interviews and just be passionate about what you're studying. So there's a lot of work on the student's end too when you're really busy to not miss deadlines because you can't just submit late to a big operation like OPG and think you're still going to get an interview spot. So a lot of work on the student side. So give yourself credit to Osama for working hard. And I know many students, I'm having them revise their resume many times, but I've kind of moved out of the Career Center now and I'm in the Faculty of Engineering. So it's great because in my role now, I do get to kind of work more individually with students to figure out where they really want to work and help them meet their job goals and reach out to employers where students really want to work. And
Absolutely.
in nuclear, the program you were in, certainly OPG is number one in Bruce Power. There's a lot of strong connections, and it's wonderful to see so many alumni having taken part in internship, and that led them to the jobs they have today in major employers in the nuclear power industry.
Absolutely, and I just want to say that I think videos like this are really important because they paint a picture and give answers to those vital questions that students or maybe even at different universities might be interested in. And I think you have this wealth of resources with seeing years and years of students graduate and start off first year struggling getting that GPA and then transitioning over to their professional life. So, what would you say is like the best time for for an engineering student to start applying for internships?
You know what? I think as soon as you start your career, I think it's really in first year to be aware that co-op and internships exist. So in a perfect world, you do a co-op after your summer of second year. And it's great that the university allows you to step away from school up to 16 months after your third year, or if you're in a management program, the fourth year, to gain up to 16 months work experience. And then you return 2 fast semesters, and then you're ready to be hired as a new graduate. So you can graduate with 20 months of experience. So not only can you apply to a new grad job, you might see one that's looking for 2 years experience, but go, you know what, I'm going to apply for that. I'm pretty close to that 2 year mark. First year, you have to watch that your GPA doesn't crash and burn. It's a repeat of high school, the first semester. And a lot of students don't take it as seriously as they should. And, and then I watch students that really want to be part of the program, but they're desperate to crawl the GPA up. And it's 2.3, which isn't particularly high, But companies like OPG, Bruce Power, they're looking at 2.7, sometimes 3, GPA 3.0. So start off strong in first year so you don't have that burden of really having to crawl the GPA up.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Making sure your GPA is high so that companies like OPG, Bruce Power, like competitive companies, will take you in. What
Yeah.
would you say is the biggest mistake kids make when it comes to internships and co-ops? Is it preparation? Is it the fact that their resumes need improvement? Their interview skills? What do students usually struggle with?
You know what? I think every student is unique. So often everyone has their own challenges. I think when you come to university, try to have fun too. Like you've been involved in the young nuclear uh, clubs, women in nuclear, women in engineering, NSOC. There's so many other opportunities to embrace. And I think sometimes students don't get involved in things that might make school more fun for them and open up more avenues to networking and just exploring what's out there. And I know you're a champion of seeing what's out there and getting involved. So I would say getting involved in school is important because employers value those skills as well. And I just think that being part of all those great clubs and associations that are part of your faculty is a great thing to explore. And I think it fuels your excitement for the industry. So I would
Definitely.
say one thing, but I think involvement or even your own interests, like the conference, you and I have been at the CNA conference in Ottawa. There's a fabulous opportunity where they sponsor, usually 10 students get their way paid to go to that conference where all the big nuclear employers are. You get to hear great talks from the leaders in the industry. I think it's really inspiring and fabulous opportunity for networking. So I'd say every third year should embrace when you hear of that call out for, sometimes you have to create a poster, write so many words, why you're interested in the nuclear industry, whatever it might be. But it's a great opportunity to see how many different employers there are in the nuclear industry. And with innovation, like it's an exciting time in the nuclear industry with small modular reactors coming, just so much innovation. Refurbishment has really created a lot of new jobs, new innovation, new companies. NPX, I think, is just an amazing company, and they've hired our alumni and co-ops and interns, and they're at the forefront of innovation at Bruce Power and throughout the nuclear industry. So new companies are forming and great opportunities through co-op and internship to explore the many different avenues that nuclear has. One of, I think, the greatest internships is the CNSC rotational internship, because that definitely opens up different areas in the nuclear industry where students can get exposure. And every organization has to operate within the regulatory body. So it's great experience to do an internship there.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And especially with the CNA conference, I think if you want to
Yeah.
get into the nuclear industry, I think that's where you need to be, especially as a co-op.
Oh,
I found one of my co-ops there. I bumped
yeah.
into a VP from, former VP from EDF, and he was with Framatome. And, I didn't know who he was, but just got introduced. And I had this valve experience from Lakeside, and I just introduced myself, and he said, "Why don't you join us?" And in the next few months, I was pretty much on my way to that company.
Yeah, I know. It's just great. And it's such a friendly environment too. And they're so happy to see students there and share their experience and, fabulous food and drinks that you're networking over.
Oh yeah,
You can just join large tables and everyone introduces themselves. It's great because you can be sitting next to, the highest person in the industry and there you are chatting. So it's great.
it's phenomenal, and You know what? I didn't even win the scholarship to attend for, I think, the last 2 years of my undergrad, and I think it's a bit expensive. I think registrations are around $400 to $500, but it's worth every dime. I feel, even for a student,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
student budget, I think $400 to $500, that opportunity cost of landing a full time job or a co-op or an internship is it's something that it's an amazing opportunity cost.
yeah. No, it's a place to be to network. Now this year, I guess it's been postponed. I think it's going to be September 2021. I guess is
Mhm.
when next event. So everyone be watching for that and be there. We should
Absolutely.
be there. The whole everybody should be going.
Yeah, and we should get sponsored by by the CNA.
Well, that's who does give all the sponsorships, but they just split it among other universities. But I think there's a good 100 students that they do sponsor. It's pretty amazing
No, I meant
program.
this video. I meant this video. They should sponsor this video.
Oh, this one, yeah, we're giving a lot of good plugs for a lot of companies. Now I'm going to feel if I miss out, but really, the nuclear industry does have great co-ops and internships, and I think every student should try their best, get those grades up, and be there. Because when you're studying in the nuclear, like you have a passion for it,
Yeah.
clean energy. Like I think that's the benefit of studying something that is niche. That uh, it's just a cool thing, and you wouldn't study it if you didn't really believe in it or see that that's how the power of the energy that comes from all things nuclear. So I think students need to develop that passion sometimes, uh, and really realize that wow, they are in a niche industry that has great impact all around the world.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what is the difference between a co-op and an internship?
Length of time. A co-op is either 4 or 8 months, and generally is in the summer. 4 months is perfect, May to September. Internship is longer, so 12 to 16 months. That's how the university views it. Now, some companies will call everything a co-op, whether you're there 4 months or
Hmm.
16 months. It's just really terminology. At the university, we just have a different course code, whether you're in co-op or internship, but it's length of time. Employers do like and do prefer the longer internship. Excuse me. Because think about yourself, any job you've had, when you're there for 4 months, you're probably really just getting comfortable about that 4 month mark,
Hmm.
and then you're leaving. Whereas if an employer knows, oh, I've got Osama for 16 months, they likely might train you more, involve you deeper in projects. So you're going to get a richer experience. So, and that's where I think our program has really grown rapidly, is because employers figured out, the 4 month co-op model doesn't work as well for industry.
Hmm.
So I think the longer internship makes employers happier.
Definitely. And so the chances of, nowadays the competition for full-time jobs, the amount of jobs available have decreased, competition has increased, and
Yeah.
what kind of highlights you as a student, kind of makes that difference, is your co-op or internship experience. From
Mhm.
from the years of students that have graduated, have you seen a trend of more students enrolling in co-ops and internships, and the success of students landing those full-time jobs? Does that necessarily correlate with having that co-op or internship experience?
I think it does, definitely, because it's really tough to get a job without experience. And if you have it as an undergrad, then at least you've got a good reference. You have experience. It just leads you anywhere. And I think with an engineering degree, you can do anything. But the students that have participated in internship definitely have, I think, a leg up to get that first time job faster and job arranged by the time they do graduate. So,
Definitely.
but you also can't control. I mean, we didn't see COVID coming. We didn't see the effect that would have on the labor market. And, suddenly when all the managers are working from home, you could see why it's hard to bring a student or intern on when you can't really train them more. And especially even equipment. OPG, for example, had the challenge of people just couldn't take laptops and equipment home. They didn't have stuff that you could just send,
Hmm.
or you were counting on working from the actual work environment. So to set people up remotely, they weren't prepared. It was a challenge for every company.
Absolutely. And
So
the question is that, will this kind of, uh, first of all, like, how long will this last? But no one really knows, right? And the second thing is, if a student kind of wasn't successful, maybe because of COVID, what would you encourage them to do? How can they receive at least that mentorship or that support,
mhm,
or what can they do to kind of give them that increase in chance of getting hired after they graduate?
right. Well, that's a good question. And I think employers will be sympathetic, because as employers, they probably realize, what, this is a student I likely would have hired for internship, but that opportunity didn't present itself. So I think they're going to be a little bit forgiving. And I think if, true, but I think you do probably have to get to networking events, or maybe that CNA conference is even more important next year, that it is about networking and just showing that, boy, I can't wait to get to work with my new degree. Because we can't go back and change last summer. We lost about 100 different positions. Some were postponed, so students started in the fall, but a lot of students were very disappointed, and employers felt really badly too. They were scrambling, and so I think we just have to move forward. But that's where, if you had been involved in clubs and associations, developing skills that way, your resume isn't just the courses that you studied. You've shown where you've been problem solving, developing leadership skills, and even it might be doing an individual project. I find employers now really want to see that you're doing something on your own as well outside of school. So I'm amazed how many students have built their own 3D printers, or just had an interest where they're building something on their own, or and with small modular reactors, there's a lot of people thinking about things outside the box. How can we make energy? So I think often employers are looking for a spark. And so if they see that, like, wow, here's someone that embraces lifelong learning and is looking for a challenge, and has strong interest. I think if you show that you do independent research on, think of how many different topics there are in the nuclear industry right now. So even knowing what's coming, what's the future, what's interesting, what do you really want to work on? I think employers are looking for that. And you're going to be competing with other students that had a challenge of not being able to find a work experience last summer. But I've never had a student regret that they've done co-op or internship. It might be an employer they don't want to go back to, and I believe you've had that experience too. Sometimes learning from an environment that isn't a fit for you could save you years of not being happy in employment later.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. Even if you didn't have a good time in your co-op, I think you learn. That's a stronger learning experience than actually a positive co-op experience, from my
Yeah,
perspective.
and that's part of my job too, is I am the connection to the school, to the student while they're at work too. So I chat with many students in the evening, and sometimes they've got a difficult boss, or the supervisory style just doesn't work for them. And often I say to students, well, guess what? I think in this co-op you're learning how not to manage. When the day comes when you have an intern, you're not going to treat them this way or that way. And not that it's right how some treatment happens. I'm not saying all places are bad, but sometimes you do see, like, what, yeah, that person didn't make me feel welcome, or I'm going to do a better job of that when I have an intern. And for students too, it's learning how to speak up for yourself. Like, I know the work reports that you do to get the time credited, because as internship, 12 months of undergrad experience counts towards your PNG experience. And some students aren't challenged enough, and they really want to get those 12 months. So many students, I have, well, not many, but, have conversations with students. Hey, how do we approach, maybe going to a different manager and asking to be involved in another project that looks cool? Or how do I ask my supervisor if that's okay if I devote some of my time to something else where I can boost my skills? So there's always interesting scenarios. And that's a way a student grows too, out in the workforce. How do you, even public speaking in meetings, speaking up, that's a skill too that many students come back and go, wow, like now I'm comfortable in meetings. Like I really grew a lot in many different areas. So,
Absolutely, and I think you gave some really good examples of students and how the internship and co-op program is so important in kind of facilitating that development,
yeah.
even outside of school. And the question that I always get, a question that I was curious about as well, is are co-ops or internships guaranteed? First of all, when you apply out of high school, and the second question is what's kind of like the percentage, like in a sense, if I enter in mechanical engineering or nuclear engineering program, what is the percent chance of me actually getting that internship or co-op?
I really believe that everybody can get one. I strongly believe that, but it takes work and it takes applying to a lot of things. I have maybe 800, 900 students on the portal that says, I want to participate in co-op and internship. And a lot of those students I will never meet. They're not coming to my door. They're not, when I used to have an office, or reaching out. Maybe they never do another thing after they apply. They're not using the great services of the Career Center where they can get, really learn how to customize their resume, because Career Center will help you. There's appointments virtually now as well. So they may not be getting the help. And if your resume doesn't speak to the position, like if you just think, I'm going to do a generic resume and I'm going to blanket the nuclear industry with this one resume, chances are you're not going to get a call. Whereas if you say, wow, here are the top 5 employers I really want to work for, and then have their posting and tailor your skills toward it, you've got a better chance of getting an interview from tailoring 5 resumes than you would blanketing Durham region with 100 generic ones. So that's a skill, and it's a skill that you're going to take you throughout your whole work career. You probably now know how to do a great resume, right?
Absolutely, and I'm still learning. I think I have like
Yeah.
almost 100 different copies of of like specified resumes, like more
Yeah.
technical, less technical. So that's a
Yeah.
really good advice. Um,
And it has to really, when you have a posting, the puzzle pieces are there of what the employer is looking for, and learning to say, okay, I have to show those puzzle pieces. And maybe it is from a project. Maybe it's from my independent research, or that I'm really keenly interested in the facet that this company is working in. So a successful student is one that uses the services that are available, that comes so that I know them. Because then when I talk to employers, I could say, oh, I know Osama, he would love, he's he'd be a great fit, and I can do that. But if I don't get to know you, and even virtually is making it more of a challenge, because before I was used to students would flock to the office. I did get to know them, care about them, and it is relationship building with employers as well with students. But it's happening with virtual. Like now I just, students say, hey, can we meet? It's virtual. That's fine. But that's what gives me the job enjoyment, is getting to know the students and helping them reach their goals of where they really want to work. And that's what I like about our program, is that no, it's not guaranteed. Like, you just don't walk in my office and I hand everyone a job. Like, that would be great. And if it was mandatory, that would be kind of the pressure, is that everyone gets a job. And I've heard from other internship coordinators that some of their jobs aren't particularly great jobs, but it's a co-op. So you might be spending your co-op fee, but not getting one that is engineering, or maybe even really helps advance your career. And we have a small staff too. Like there's a very successful co-op school that we all know of. They have a staff of 200. That's So, yes, ours is voluntary, but if you put the work in and make those connections and go to events, our virtual reverse career fair, 40 employers were just here. So that helps connect with a lot. I love Indeed.ca, Workopolis, LinkedIn to fish for jobs, search for jobs, just to put in nuclear engineering student, watch what comes up. New grad nuclear engineer, start reading postings. Even if you're in first year, I'd put in new graduate nuclear engineer. See what, see, where are the jobs? What skills do I need to develop? That's a good thing. So I still believe that there's lots of jobs. And some students will apply to 50 jobs and others will, only apply for one. So the odds are the more you take the time to customize, and it is work to do that. So the steps to success, rely a lot on the student meeting deadlines. And what's unfortunate too is sometimes an employer will give you a deadline, but maybe 3 days before that deadline is when they've already said, oh, I've got enough students here already to interview. Or so waiting to the last minute sometimes hurts students to apply, or missing deadlines, or somehow they can't seem to get everything in on time. There can be a lot of different reasons. But I truly believe that, and I see it. I see students that say, you know what, I'm getting an internship this year. Like I'm doing it, and they're willing to apply to quite a few places. I also love meeting with students, and they tell me I really want to be at this company, and it's like, great. Well, then we research together. I send them the brochure, because employers get a tax credit up to $3,000 per semester for hiring a student. So they get a tax credit. Sometimes there's wage subsidies too. The electrical industry, for example, has had one. So I fill out forms that, will, just verify that a student is attached to the school, so that companies get rebates. Right now, there's one for the automotive industry. So like things like that come up too, so that employers are encouraged to hire students, and they know they need that pipeline to talent later. And what better way than to have you basically on a job interview for 16 months? They're going to know at that time whether you're a fit for the team.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you did a really good. I really liked how you you gave out those resources, like, hey, do some independent research, check out the co-op portal, also go on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, do networking. But so say you're maybe second or first year student, and you're just mountains and mountains of midterms, exams,
Yeah.
assignments.
Yeah.
What would be your advice? Like, what one of those buckets should you target first? Should you be targeting networking, conferences, LinkedIn, online, your resume itself, and just simply applying? If what would you kind of emphasize? What is the most successful, time, energy to
Hmm.
success?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because that students have a time famine. There's when you're juggling 6 full-time courses, it's really tough, and if you miss deadlines, you're sunk. So this year we ran a summer boot camp. We decided we emailed everybody with a 2.3 GPA and said, you know what? How about we work together this summer? You do all the workshops, resume, cover letter, interview prep, networking, all the things that could help you be successful. So we tried that this year. That we're in the summer when you've got a little bit more time. So some students thankfully took advantage of that, um, some pieces, and our reverse career fair as a wonderful opportunity. It's very early because new graduate hiring starts in the fall, and even internship right now. This past week is OPG's interviewing for May starts. Like this is November 1st. So, and then co-op hiring will be more February, March. So there's a real cycle that goes. And yeah, smack dab right in the middle of midterms. You know, this year we ran it during reading week, which is, students catch up week. So didn't work for everybody, but the reverse career fair doesn't, when it's in person and it's only 4 hours, that can be a struggle too if there's midterms. So I totally am aware of the time famine of students, but I think you've got to get a decent resume, because a resume gets you the interview, and the interview is where you're going to get the job. So if you don't even sound like you're studying nuclear engineering, which is a lot of students' resume, they think that, okay, I use this to get my job at the mall or other places, but they don't realize that, yeah, your resume should be talking about can-do knowledge, or that you do have lab skills to look at safe levels of radiation. And you do have skills that when you walk through the door with an employer, you already know that, you
A-
know.
Absolutely.
So I would probably, in all those things, the resume is where it starts. But it should also start with your research too. Where do you really want to work? And I will say, in the 10 years I've been at the university, when I say students, where do you really want to work? OPG's the number one answer. A lot of your profs have history there. Like, I think that's usually the answer 9 times out of 10 is what I'm going to hear. And it is a wonderful place. And, it's the goal of many. But they get a lot of applicants, so you've got to be on the top of your game to get that internship there too. So make use of the resources.
Absolutely. And I'm just curious, and um, out of those 900 students that have that 2.3 GPA and kind of apply for that program, how many do you think visit you throughout the year or throughout the semester?
Maybe 100. And there'll be repeat, like people I will see, I will know well, like I'll never forget your name, say, like, it's but a lot, yeah, probably don't seek me out. And that's my job too, is trying to make students more aware that, hey, I'm here to help you. And I run a drop-in now for an hour every Wednesday morning, so we get good traffic. Like, we're just trying, but it's new for everybody, and students are getting fatigued, I think, in Zoom meetings too. It's a time, and people are busy. So, but I do know that I feel the message is out that co-op and internship is valuable. It really is something that you should strive to get, and hopefully you will. And I do think there's a lot of resources to help you be successful. And I think it's just, and I think hearing from students like yourself that have done it, that inspires others. Hey, I should do that. So I think our students now out in industry are good role models, and a lot do give back to the school. Like, we'll be, as mentors, and we're getting there. But when I started 10 years ago, there were only 40 students that participated in co-op and internship, 40. And the last summer, pre-COVID in May, we had 330 students out. So that's how much it has grown. Now, some were finishing internships, some are starting, but yeah, there's jobs out there. So yeah. And some students decide not to do it. They may sign up, but then they're taking courses in the summer. Or there's fabulous opportunities to do research at the university, or work in ACE, University Works jobs. Like, there's other choices for students too. So I just think my program is the best choice.
I think so too, Anne. Can you share some
But
success stories of students that have graduated from, from Ontario Tech, have done the co-op and internship program? What are some of the highlights of success stories that you see?
um, well, so many. Just people being happy in their work and just where they're going. And some are in the US, some are, around the world. And, but to me, they're all success stories. Everybody that's participated and earned a paycheck and graduates with job experience, to me is a success, even if it showed them what they don't want to do. You know, it's pretty vast. So, and it is competitive and it's tough times. So I would hate for a student to feel, oh, you know, now I'm not going to be successful because of this. And that's not true. It's just you have a strong degree and you have to believe in yourself. I think that's part of my job is helping students believe in it, in themselves, to go for it. You know, and employers are grateful to have passion and enthusiasm and a desire to learn.
Definitely, and I think you do a great job with that, really encouraging students. And I personally felt so, so encouraged, so optimistic every time I went to your office,
Oh,
and I always received good feedback, and I think that really pushed me um, toward pursuing those co-ops. Like I pretty much started applying pretty early, and I was able to land a co-op quite early, like after my
after
second
your
year.
second year. And I think I tried to talk you out of it. Because going out on internship after second year is hard because you don't have a lot of the courses under your belt and you can get eaten alive. And then after third year, you know, your knowledge level is up. But, and I do believe you only really need one internship. So if you're only going to do one, I would do it closer to the finish line after the third year. But you know, you've got double the time to graduate. So in 8 years, it kind of does make sense to do what you did. You at least had different experiences. Got one after second year, great, and then you had other opportunities later too as you went through. So students are doing that, and you know, helping finance their expensive education that way too by getting longer stints. So every path is as it should be. You know, your path in life will unfold, and when it happens, it happens. So just be up for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I personally, so my brother and I, we both did nuclear engineering, and we both participated in the program, and both of us actually spent around 2 years on co-ops and internships. And I think for us, like we all got like bits and pieces of unique experiences. Like for example, for me, it was I started off at a vendor, right? So more of application engineering, kind of sales, business, but also a bit of technicality. And then I moved into OPG, Ontario Power Generation, which was more project management. And then I went to a French nuclear company, Framatome, which was more project management as well, but up at the Bruce. So I got a taste of Mississauga, so like the GTA, Darlington, and then also the Bruce. So I it was kind of like a full up buffet for me, and you get paid as well, right? So and then my
Yeah.
brother on the other hand did CNL, so like he did more of the design, and then
Yeah.
he also did OPG with health physics, and then
Mm,
Acon, and then Acon pretty much ended up hiring him after he graduated.
yeah. And Acon's doing very well. I just saw an update on the news about how they're making good money and they're doing very prosperous these days. So that's great. So yeah, many different companies are out there. Westinghouse is a new employer that's building relationships now too with the school, and
Yeah,
they're have just bought Rolls Royce Nuclear in Peterborough, so they're reaching out to the school too for, you know, employers have heard good things about our students and our alumni graduates.
absolutely. So, and what would you say is the pay scale in terms of co-ops? Because a lot of students, they, sometimes it's about money for them as well, right? Like they want to work, they want to pay off their student loans. What would you say
Yeah.
is the general range that students get paid?
Well, some jobs are at minimum wage, and that's very rare. Nuclear industry jobs pay very well. So, um, you know, at OPG, you're getting closer to $30 an hour. Some of the co-ops, $20 range, 30, you know, Bruce Power pays very well too. So nuclear industry jobs on co-op and internship are good. I would say if we looked at the program as a whole, the average is around $20 an hour, but some of these major employers are higher than that. Some students get overtime too. They may work a lot of hours and earn additional funds as well. You have to really look at it that you're investing in your future. So if you were to get that minimum wage job, yeah, you might be disappointed in the money, but if that was the skill set that then helped launch you, you know, you've got to look at it that way. And I know it's hard. You do have to crunch the numbers. I've had a couple of students in 10 years that tried to make it work on minimum wage, but they had to move, rent an apartment, and it was tough. But we do have a financial aids and award office, and sometimes if you've accepted something and there's a financial crunch, I've been able to call that office on the behalf of the student and connect and help with funds too. So we do have resources that way too, and there's bursaries and scholarships students should look at too when they're a student here at Ontariotech U that can be helpful. But on the whole, internships often do pay well, and because with Durham Region and here, many of our students are local students, so if they live at home, yeah, it really does help towards pay off the debt. But I think you have to look at it like CNSC, for example, in Ottawa, you're moving there. Perhaps the wage is a bit less, but to me, that is a fabulous experience. And most students that go there come back with a grad job if they're interested, or they've made good connections with other companies through working on projects together, that they've got other jobs. So you have to look at it that you're investing in your future. There's fees when you're in the co-op program. No one likes the fees, but and lots of times I have to listen to students go, oh, I know, but it's a course fee, but that's what helps make sure that we have a co-op office and have a career center and all these other services that do help students. But you only pay the fee if you get a job and you accept a job. So everyone can certainly try and use the resources. We're all here to help everyone be successful.
Definitely, and I really like how you uh, highlighted the fact that a co-op like maybe CNSC doesn't pay as much, but the value of that
Oh,
experience and turning into a full-time
yeah,
job, it's out
yeah,
there, it's real. And like the
yeah.
experience I had was at my first job, I started off at a lower wage, $19 an hour, right? And then my second job, it increased to like $27 an hour. And then my third job,
Mm,
it increased to I think $34 an hour, right? So
yeah,
incrementally, it kind of went up for me. So
yeah,
I think students shouldn't really kind of fret or kind of be angry that they don't start off with 30 something or 40 something dollars an
mm,
hour. Grab something, get that experience,
yeah.
and use it as a stepping stone for the next experience.
Yeah. Your first job in engineering is the toughest to get. And if you get that, then you've had that and it'll be certainly easier for you. But I do have a lot of students reach out to me after that they've graduated and sorry that they didn't participate in co-op and internship and are finding it tough. So that's my frustration sometimes as students are in a rush to graduate. So they don't want to look at the longer internship, and yet they might sit at home for a year after they graduate to look for a job. Whereas if you just would have taken that job in that third year, earned $50,000, $60,000, and right into a grad job, you're way further ahead.
Absolutely, and
And
I think sometimes
too. I've had a lot of students say, "Oh, my parents want me to graduate as quickly as possible. They want this stage of my life to be done." So it's not always students, but it's pressure from other places too. But
Absolutely. I was just about to say that actually that a lot of kids, I know even my parents, they give a lot of pressure that hey, graduate, um,
mm,
uh, graduate or yeah, this stage of life should be done. And it's sometimes it's tough to explain to families sometimes that hey, this is an opportunity. This is kind of like a stepping stone for future
mm,
opportunities, right? And it's almost like a
yeah,
springboard for opportunities. So, what would you say to these parents or these grandparents?
I would say, please don't rush it. Take the time, breathe. I'm One other big change I've seen in the 10 years I've been here too is the number of students taking an extra year to complete their degree, like taking that 5 years, but then they've got time to be in clubs and do things that are fun, lessen the course load, lessen the stress, have time for internship. Like, why are we rushing life? Put off being a full-fledged adult as long as you can.
I like the sound of that.
It's anyway, so I think students have told me that taking that extra year and maybe 4 or 5 courses some years or some semesters really made their life easier, and they could then get involved and maybe do different workshops, seminars. Like, there's a lot of neat free training even to learn more about the nuclear industry, don't you find? Like, there's sessions you can attend that maybe the CNA put on virtually. Like, there's a lot of extra things that if you have time and not so time famine, you can make school more fun, and just don't be in a rush. But
Absolutely.
internship year or co-op.
Definitely. I totally agree. And I think it's a bit of time management as well, right? Like for me personally, I
Mm,
was able to finish my undergrad in 4 years, right?
yeah.
I did 2 years on co-op. But in that time, I was able to, have a full course load, 6 courses, but then go on all these conferences, right?
And
Um,
you travel the world.
yeah, yeah. I even went to an international conference right before COVID, and that was insane because I had my final capstone. I had insane amount of reports, and actually our dean, he was my supervisor, and he was actually emailing me. He's like, Osama, you're in Australia. How are you able to? How are you gonna do all this?
And even with yeah, how are you able? I remember saying that to you too. How are you going to get groceries? You're supposed to be isolating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, crazy times. But when you're young, you can juggle all those things. But
Absolutely, and I think students should. I think students should challenge themselves.
yeah, and take advantage of those conferences, any extra opportunities. And your dean, Akira, like, he's a fascinating man, and lots of different connections. And students should get to know, your professors are really great. Like, just get to know them, and uh, you know, get them to share more of their experiences with you. Who is your favorite prof?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I had so many good profs,
Yeah.
but they're all good in their own regards. But I think my favorite like lecturer like that I love hearing is Professor John Froats.
Oh yes, he's I think everyone's favorite in many ways, and yeah, great guy. Yeah, so that's the thing too, is take time in your courses to get to know your professors, because they've had a really interesting history in the world of work too. They've all come and bring something great to their positions. So it's good to hear their stories and help you find your path as well.
Absolutely, and I think kids they kind of get shy, and I was like that in my first year. I was really shy and not really friendly with the profs. And then once I start actually meeting them and talking to them, and now I'm so comfortable with our profs, or even in my last year where where we do Instagram live videos on we have a book club that we're running with Akira,
Oh,
and
really? So what kind of
yeah.
books do you?
We pick a book per month, I guess. Or this month we
Yeah.
chose like a Fukushima Daiichi book,
Oh,
and Dr. Akira actually he wrote he contributed to that book,
right.
and
Okay.
we have like a live feed, and then I even post it up on my YouTube channel, so that kind of giving that that panel in a sense to profs, and even academic officers like you who can come on the channel and share their
Yeah.
expertise with students, right?
Yeah. Well, it's great. It's good. So, what's the best advice you want to give students?
I think the best advice is, listen, like I think the chances of getting a job without a co-op nowadays is, I feel like, very very slim, right?
Mm,
Majority of my friends that graduated without co-ops are at the moment jobless, right?
yeah.
And I'd say that if you want a successful career, uh, I'd say the best way is to just put your foot forward, contact Anne ASAP, book an appointment, right? And basically just have a conversation with her, right? Build your resume, and also network. I felt like networking was the best way I could kind of
Mhm.
make myself apart from the other students. Like I never had a high GPA. My GPA was never high, right? And that's the one thing that I struggled with. So applying to a normal portal, it was difficult for me to even get an interview. Um,
Mhm.
I was able to get interviews through references and through meeting other folks at conferences. So
Mhm.
that was my
It
secret
goes a
sauce.
long way. It goes a long way, the networking. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, what would you say is, um, just going forward with the internship and co-op program, how it's grown so much throughout the years. You've talked about 40 kids going on co-op and internship, and at the peak, most recently, almost 300, 380, I think you said, right?
Well, 330. Last summer we were more like 260 with COVID. It took a toll.
So 330, that's quite a large number, and a majority
That
of
was
those co-ops, what company was it in?
internship. Well, OPG is always a key employer. I work with the Faculty of Engineering as well as Energy Systems and Nuclear Science, so it's a big group. But yeah, students have a wide range of what they want to do and where they want to work. So there's it's infinite really to the possibilities. So, and employers, I mean, sometimes it's just making them aware. I mean, not everyone's heard of Ontariotech U, and not everyone had heard of UIT before too. But once we've certainly known in the nuclear industry, no doubt about that. So we're getting there.
Absolutely, and I think this conversation is really encouraging for students because it paints a genuine picture of the situation out there.
Yeah.
That this is what the program is, and it's competitive. It's not where you're not going to be handing off job offers right to every kid that.
But yeah, yeah. But the jobs are there and the supports are there to help you be successful, and you learn a lot of good skills for job searching that you'll use throughout your career. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely, and no,
Yeah.
this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Anne,
Oh, you're
for being on my channel, being on my YouTube channel, and I think I'll be posting this on the Ontario Tech like undergraduates. There's like a Facebook page, and a
oh,
lot of a lot of students are there. And during this COVID time, what inspired me to reach out to you and was during the COVID. It's tough to it's tough to find or even chat with other students or and find out about other about the internship program or how students have so many questions.
yeah, I'm ready to chat. I have appointments on the Student Life portal too, but send me an email, Ann Colby at ontariotechu.ca, and I'll make time.
Absolutely, and what I'll do is I'll put your email and contact in the description below,
Okay,
and that
sure.
way students can directly contact you as well.
That's great. Okay,
Awesome.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're very welcome. Keep in touch.
Definitely, and bye.
Bye now.